never did anyone say, go be an interpreter in the parks. And then when I found it, I was like, where's this been all my life? I could have done this.
Welcome to In the Parks, an Indiana State Parks podcast. I'm Allison Martin, and I'm excited to tell the stories of these amazing places in the Hoosier State. Our parks show off the best of Indiana, and it's time to go in-depth to really know the stories and discover what makes each destination unique and valuable as part of Indiana. On In the Parks, you'll learn about the people, legends, and places that formed Indiana's parks in the past and who is writing the story now. Today, we're going to learn about arguably the most important job of the state parks, the interpretive naturalist. If you go to any state park, this is who you'll most likely talk to. They're the park's storyteller, and you may be surprised to learn that Indiana is a national leader in this position. We'll hear from Indiana State Park staff who shaped places like Prophetstown, Potato Creek, Indiana Dunes, McCormick's Creek, Mounds, Clifty Falls, and more. So let's get started. What job do you think you want to have when you grow up?
Oh, that's easy. I want to be a designer.
What do you want to design?
Dresses. Kids my age dresses, and dresses for babies and dresses for women.
What job do you want to have when you grow up?
Animal scientist. Study animals. A space scientist. I want to learn about space and study things about space.
Many kids know exactly what they want to be from a young age. Others switch out their futures at the same rate they change clothes. As kids enter middle and high school, there's more of an emphasis on figuring out your career path. I changed my mind all the time and was always jealous of people who knew what they wanted to be early on. Jenna Parks Freeman was one of those teenagers.
My name's Jenna Parks Freeman, and I'm an interpretive naturalist at Prophetstown State Park. When I was 13, I decided I wanted to work in a park, and I never changed my mind. And I really was able to get a lot of experiences at a young age that helped prepare me for this specific job.
I love that Jenna knew so early where she was headed. She's been an interpretive naturalist at Prophetstown for over 6 years. Okay, I've talked about this position in every single episode. So what exactly is an interpretive naturalist? Think about the two words that make up the title, interpreter. Now, this isn't someone translating one language to another, but like an interpreter, this role at the state parks helps people understand the language of place. Then add the word naturalist, and you'll get an even better picture of how this job tells the story of the history, flora, and fauna of each state park. I'm extremely thankful that I've been able to interview at least 13 current or former interpretive naturalists for the state of Indiana. And today, you'll hear from the current and 2 previous interpretive managers who oversee the position in parks statewide. So a huge thanks to Angie Manuel, Vicki Bassman, and Ginger Murphy. I have 3 to 4 hours of conversations, and I wish you could hear everything from them. These women are the experts on the position, and they sure know how to sell it. First up, let's hear from Angie. She oversees the interpretive naturalists for the state parks now, and she took a roundabout way to find her path to the parks.
I'm Angie Manuel, the interpretive manager for Indiana State Parks. I was kind of, not finding good jobs in my life and thinking to myself, what was it that I really, really enjoyed when I was a kid? And it was always animals, animals. And going back to school led me, and just a professor said, hey, I got an email from the naturalist at Potato Creek, and he's hiring seasonal naturalists. So I went up and interviewed for it, and it just was a great fit, and I probably had the best summer of my life, and I just feel so lucky that was just the path that was laid before me, and I was able to, like I said, get that first little seasonal job at Potato Creek, not knowing what the profession was at all.
Angie returned the next summer to work as a seasonal interpretive naturalist at Indiana Dunes before getting hired full-time at Mounds. She fell in love with history and native cultures there, which was a huge advantage in her next position at Prophetstown. Whether she told the story of the sandy dunes, the ancient mounds, or the history of the prophet, Angie learned how to connect with visitors and find programs they would love.
So that's what interpretation does, is it communicates in all these different ways, because our visitors are so different. So the profession of interpretation is really multifaceted. It's a hike. Hey, come on this hike with me and let's learn all the prairie wildflowers. But it could also be a campfire program in the campground where visitors are, spending the night with us. It could also be a fishing program, to teach people some outdoor recreation, or a paddling program. It could be a woodworking workshop. Hey, let's make a walking stick. Just all different types. Our visitors like all of those things. They like lecture and in-depth programs, and sometimes they just like really fun outdoor experiences in all of those different ways. Prophetstown was the place that let me just explore all the different types of interpretation.
The interpretive naturalist position has guiding principles and national standards, but also allows people to creatively connect visitors with the resources their parks offer.
We do have parameters. We have standards for how we do it. It's a profession that's been around for over 100 years. So it is a profession. It's been studied, it's been tried, it's been researched, it's been put in academic forms, textbooks, and you can learn and you can get certified. So there are a lot of standards and practices that we follow. But then you sort of add, yes, your creativity to it, but what the property has, the resources. Your creativity is, how do I make this resource shine? In the bucket of education, we're one of the types of education. We rely a lot on experiential education, hands-on, immersive, using all your senses. We rely on the sounds of the outdoors, or the smells of things, or touching something, or creating something. So we really rely on that.
Ginger Murphy is currently the Deputy Director for Stewardship at the Indiana State Parks. She's been the person opening all the doors for me to create these podcasts, and I was so glad I got to officially interview her. Ginger once had Angie's job managing the interpretive programs across the state and is a true leader for Indiana State Parks. She explains why this job is so important and goes beyond the programs.
The interpreters are really the public face in the community as well for the kinds of work that we do, and so it's you think about the programs, that's the big piece, but nature centers and everything else is all a part of that too, part of the work they do.
Ginger also shared a proud moment for us Hoosiers.
We have a national reputation.
Yeah, and I don't think
for
people
our
know
work.
that.
Yeah, there are 3 or 4 states that really focus on interpretation, and we are one of them.
We were early in the state park development across the country. Yay, Indiana, we were early with something for once.
That's Vicki Bassman. We met her on the McCormick's Creek episode. She's been a seasonal interpreter, a historic rehab specialist for the state, started the Friends of McCormick's Creek, and was the interpretive manager for the state as well. She explains why Indiana had such a role in developing this position.
It really is because Richard Lieber was a visionary. He was a visionary. We were lucky he was here in Indiana. Without him, we wouldn't have the park system that we have. And he envisioned that parks should be destinations, that there should be activities for people of all ages, that we preserve what's there.
It's one thing to have a vision for helping people connect with the parks. It's another thing to find someone to execute that vision. The woman we have to thank for that is Lucy Pitchler, a woman who loved art and nature, but is a bit of a mystery. Do you know then anything about the mother of this interpretive naturalist, about Lucy Pitchler?
She is very much an enigma. So Richard Lieber, I don't know how he found out about her, but she had been coming to McCormick's Creek from Indianapolis, and she belonged to the garden club. She came down and would spend 1 or 2 weeks. She was an artist, and she drew and she hiked and did stuff. Somehow he connected with her and asked her if she would do some programs. Take people on wildflower hikes. That was the very beginning of interpretive hikes at McCormick's Creek, or anywhere in the state. She started doing that. She started doing these wildflower hikes, and it really grew in popularity. People liked her. Apparently, she wore white tennis shoes, so she was a little lady in white tennis shoes.
Like our state parks founder, Richard Lieber, Lucy was born in Germany before immigrating to the United States. She was probably born in 1887. Her given name, Lucia Pitchler, spelled with a Z. She likely changed the spelling at or after landing on Ellis Island in 1910 at about 23 years old. Lucy moved to Indianapolis and in 1923 spent time at McCormick's Creek. Once Richard Lieber connected with her, she started the hikes at the parks. And she was busy. She might lead a 3 to 4 hour hike in the morning and afternoon, as well as give evening lectures. At some point, Lucy took a break from leading hikes.
And then she came back, and I'm pretty sure she worked both at Turkey Run and McCormick's, and maybe a little bit at Clifty Falls. We see her as the first interpretive naturalist. She didn't have training. She didn't have staff. There weren't other people doing it. It was just her in the very beginning. Lieber, from what we can tell, he was very happy with what she did. He saw that the national park system was moving ahead with interpretation. He really felt like Indiana State Park should have interpreters.
Because of the strong foundation laid by Lucy Pitchler and the vision of Richard Lieber, today the state parks employ 25 full-time interpretive naturalists and around 60 seasonal positions. So what happened to Lucy? She married a man named Herman Klink and moved to Hamilton, Ohio.
And that's where she lived the rest of her life. And she died in 1983 in a nursing home. Her obituary mentions she apparently told somebody, because they had no children, but she had told someone that she had been the first naturalist at Indiana State Parks and had worked at McCormick's Creek. So it meant something to her, even though she fell off the map once she went to Ohio. So we have tried to find photos of her, more information about her, and to date, no photos.
Gosh, what a shame, because if only someone had been able to interview this woman and just so much that she would have had.
I know.
Even though we know so little about Lucy, it's thanks to her and Richard Lieber that Indiana had an early start to the interpretive naturalist position. It's around the same time that the national parks began their interpretive programs as well. And I love that Indiana was a leader in connecting people to the parks through Lucy, hiking the creeks and hills in her little white tennis shoes. Lucy Pitchler is such a legacy in Indiana that there's an annual award given to one interpretive naturalist in her name. Anyone can nominate an interpreter for the award, but only other interpreters can vote on the winner. And who was the 2024 recipient of the Lucy Pitchler Award? You guessed it, Jenna Parks Freeman from Prophetstown. Here's Jenna again.
So the Lucy Pitchler Award is a really special award for full-time interpretive naturalists in the state of Indiana. And it is a peer award. So it's a really special thing to be recognized by your peers. The idea is that the Lucy Pitchler Award is for innovative interpretation and for overall excellence in the field of interpretation. So it was really humbling to be nominated for that award in the first place, and then to receive it was just amazing.
Jenna's nomination came because of her passion for the work at Prophetstown and how she's using her park to benefit all the state parks.
Kind of the biggest impact to other parks and properties that I can think of is the work that we've done in the greenhouse. That is something, when I got here, we had additional space, and I said, hey, why don't we grow plants for state parks? I probably should have kept my mouth shut. I wouldn't have so much work to do. But it's been a really cool project to get to impact all of our park properties. Now we're growing plants that are going to be at our other Indiana state parks for years to come, right? With the hope that we're restoring some of that native habitat and bringing in some of those plants that are better for our pollinators.
Jenna's also passionate about animal care. The parks all have educational ambassador animals for their programs, and Jenna continues to work with local vets to ensure the state parks have the best, latest information for how to care for and protect animals.
I like to call our animals my coworkers because they have a job to do here at the park, just like I do. And we should be keeping them in the absolute best care available. We want to be the gold standard for how these animals should be treated so that we're using them as appropriately as we can in interpretation.
She's also developed partnerships with local organizations to eliminate invasives and works with Purdue on a program that conducts service learning projects with students to solve problems at the park. So what did Jenna receive for this award? Well, it's very on brand for the legend of Lucy Pitchler.
Lore has said she was a little old lady who wore white tennis shoes. We have no evidence that she was old, and we have no evidence that she wore white tennis shoes, but that lore has stuck. So our award consists of a plaque with 2 white tennis shoes on it.
Real white tennis shoes?
Real white tennis shoes on it, yes, that were worn by one of our other naturalists long ago. And everyone who gets the award signs the tennis shoes and usually leaves some special memento in the shoes. And then we also get a fancy plaque and such as well. But it's a really special award. You know, getting a pair of tennis shoes that someone else wore is usually not like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But I've never been more excited for a pair of shoes. It was just such a cool thing to know that so many of the people I look up to received that award or have gotten that award in the past. For me, only having been here 6 years, when some of those people have worked 10, 15, 20 plus, it's just a really humbling experience to even be considered by my peers.
What was the memento that was in the shoes that you got?
Everyone who wins it puts something different in.
So what kind of stuff is in there?
I'm gonna leave that top secret because I want people to be like, what's in the shoes? I'm still trying to figure out what I'm gonna put in.
We may not know what's in the shoes, but I did get a picture of them, which I'll post on Facebook and Instagram at In the Parks Online. By the way, you should really follow along on social media. That's where all the great pictures are. But back to the shoes. Wouldn't you know it, there are some signatures on them from past award recipients who are featured in this episode. I spied Ginger Murphy and Angie Manuel's names, and I also spotted names of a couple guys we'll meet in 2025. Jeremy Bevan from Charlestown and Alan Goldstein from Falls of the Ohio. Okay, so maybe this sounds like a job you or someone you know might be interested in. How do you get started? I'll tell you after a quick break to remind you about our holiday special we have from Recollection Project. Recollection Project was created by Mitchell Bowen, a Zionsville-based artist who makes vintage travel posters in a 1930s style for state and national parks, as well as small towns, including a few in Indiana. Mitchell's work is detailed and beautiful, perfect for a gift or your own home. You can buy one print, get one free with the code INTHEPARKS. Visit recollection-project.com now through the end of December, and the code INTHEPARKS will help you save this holiday season. Listen to the Holidays in the Parks episode to hear the interview with Mitchell. Plus, if you're traveling for the holidays, it can be tough sleeping in a different bed than your own. But if you have the right pillow, it makes a huge difference. I know I'll be taking mine with me when I go to visit my brother out of town, because I love my pillow from Comfort Option, a family-owned mattress company right here in the Hoosier State. If you have guests coming from out of town and need some fresh pillows, the shredded foam option is perfect, comfortable, and affordable. The only downside? Your guests might get a little too comfortable, and it may be hard to get them to leave. So if you want to nestle snug in your bed with dreams of sugar plums dancing in your head, use the code INTHEPARKS at comfortoption.com to save 15% on your pillows. Now, let's get back to those interpretive naturalists. If this is a job you think sounds fun, you could start part-time. A seasonal job in the summer sounds perfect for a college student, teacher, or retiree. Or it could be a full-time position. Most of the interpreters have degrees in something science-based or parks management. But Vicky, Angie, and Ginger agreed that there are more important skills needed to make someone successful in this role.
One of the things that I learned early on was that people who like people usually are far more successful than people who are just into the science or they've got all of this scientific knowledge they want to share. Sometimes, like a school teacher makes a great interpretive naturalist. They're used to talking to groups, they're used to handling different age groups, and they've got that passion for just imparting knowledge.
However, unlike teachers who have one audience of similarly aged students, interpretive naturalists are educating all ages, all types of people, and typically all at the same time. How do you keep the attention of such a diverse group?
Right out of the gates, it's that soft skill of being able to want to share this thing with others in a very genuine, comfortable way. And obviously a love of nature and history and the topics, because again, if you want it to be genuine, but just a genuine people person.
The very heart of it is the ability to talk to people and engage with people.
Yeah.
That's really, you can learn wildflowers if you don't know them.
Carry a field guide or
right.
do
research. You
research.
can put a program together and learn how to do that with training, but mostly if you're not willing to engage with people and look them in the eye or stand in front of them as a group or
have fun with them.
That's more of a life skill that some people are comfortable with and some people aren't. And we need both, but as an interpreter, you really need those folks who are willing to engage with people.
really what makes a good interpreter is the desire to learn, to be with people. We always say, if you looked at the goal of interpretation, the ultimate goal is to inspire stewardship. Not just knowledge, but stewardship. You want people to care about the property.
That concept of stewardship and caring isn't exclusive to interpreters either. Whether you're aiming for a state parks job or not, Jenna gave some recommendations for cultivating that care, even in kids.
Some of the most impactful things were getting experiences at a young age. Again, I was really fortunate to have decided at 13 I'm going to work in a park and to have stuck with that. That doesn't happen very often, but that allowed me the chance to get exposure to people who were working in parks and to ask people as I traveled and visited other states and other national parks to say, what got you into this job? What do you enjoy? What do you not enjoy? So I knew what I was going into and could make an educated decision about my future career.
What also stood out to me in talking with these women was how important it is to have a passion for the parks, whether it's the nature, history, animals, or science. Several interpreters expressed that they were able to overcome their quieter sides because of their love for the job. Here's Jenna again.
I'm an introvert. Working with people is like not what I thought I would be doing with my whole life. But I love parks and I love the space that I work in and the history that I get to share with people. Having a personal interest or passion in the outdoors and the environment obviously is going to get you farther. I also say having a desire to learn. One of my mentors used to say, I get to learn something new every day, and I definitely echo that because I feel like this job is one that keeps me forever learning new things, which is awesome. I never get bored. There's always something else to do, something else to uncover, and it makes it really exciting to come to work every day.
Kayla Wilson, the interpretive naturalist at Clifty Falls, expressed similar sentiments.
And originally, I never really saw my career being an interpretive naturalist. I always hated public speaking. But I worked for a season right out of college. I worked at Obannon Woods State Park on their trail crew. And the following season, I went to Missouri as a botany technician, which I really enjoyed that job. But I noticed, like, the one thing I was kind of missing was the interactions with the public. So I kind of wanted to get back into the naturalist world, so I got a job at Turkey Run and Shades. I worked there for several years as a seasonal before I got hired on full-time at Clifty. You know, one of the things after you've done so much public speaking, it doesn't bother you after a while. So I definitely conquered that fear. I would say the main thing that I enjoy is just every day is different. It's always nice to, maybe one day I'm doing a program and the next day I'm doing a hike. I might be going to a library to do a program or something like that. Or there's days that I get to help with invasive species removal. So it just seems like every day is different, and I really enjoy that because I'm a person that doesn't like to be bored.
You'll never be bored in this job because there's always so much to learn. Thankfully, both full-time and seasonal interpreters receive plenty of training as well. That's part of Angie's job. She explains more here.
The main focus of my job is to support the interpreters, make sure they get the training that they need, make sure they have what they need at their properties to do their job well. And Indiana State Parks is a real leader and champion of training people and training people well. Our visitors are so valuable to us that we don't just, want to put anybody in charge of a group of people. We want them to have those great skills and know how to create a great experience for them.
Angie and the interpreters are also part of big events like the Indiana State Fair, the Black Expo, and the Boat, Sport, and Travel Show. Their booths feature what the parks offer for people, no matter their background or interest. And speaking of all sorts of people, like I mentioned before, Angie said seasonal interpreters represent a wide variety of people, too.
Our seasonal interpreters are every shape and size of person. Yeah, we get a lot of summertime teachers who are off. We get a lot of retired folks who are looking for a part-time job. We get a lot of college students who are in the field somewhere, biology, sciences, wildlife, or interpretation. They do come from some universities that focus on that. So they just come from every walk of life. And typically we just encourage them to connect with whatever their closest state park is that they have an interest in working at and talk to them. But additionally, we have a really great website that lets them, the Work for Indiana website, where they can find all the positions at every state park.
Seasonal interpreters get an intense 4 days of training to prepare them for the summer job. And honestly, I kind of want this to be an adult summer camp option because it sounds really fun. Here's Vicki.
All of the full-time staff and all the seasonal staff come together and they get immersed in everything from how to put on a program, how to do a talk, how to create your weekly schedule, how to deal with difficult visitors. But then a lot of it also is hopefully inspirational. You know, they take night hikes, they go on tree identification hikes, they go birding in the morning. If they're lucky, they'll have a bird bander come and they get to watch birds being caught in mist nets, and they have a guest speaker and they learn how to do a campfire program, and it is wonderful. It's really what hooked me. That first year I went to training, like I said, I felt like I found my people. This is amazing. There were other people who also wanted to find ways to teach about the outdoors through a lot of different ways and not feel intimidated that maybe you didn't have to be an expert.
Doesn't that sound like the ideal adult summer camp? Staying at an inn, hiking outside, campfires, birding, history, fossils, and animals. And Angie assured me you don't have to know everything to be a seasonal interpreter.
Oh, do I have to learn all the wildflowers in the park? I don't know all the butterflies or the insects or what tree is this. We teach them that they can find those resources anywhere. You can prepare for your program, you can learn what you need to learn, and then you just keep learning every single day.
By this point in my interview, I was starting to have a career crisis. Maybe you are too. Or maybe you need to have your middle, high school, or college-age kid reconsider their major. Will you indulge me by listening to a little longer conversation I had with Vicki, where I questioned all of my life choices? I think that there are probably a lot of education majors right now who need to be interpretive naturalists instead of going into education. Like, I think those people who are like, well, I like science or I like social studies. I really want to be outside, but I don't know. They don't know about this kind of a job maybe even existing.
That's a really good point because, you know, the whole time I was at Purdue, but getting my degree, School of Agriculture, School of Forestry, Natural Resources major, I didn't know what I was going to do. And at the end of 4 years, I concentrated on fisheries management, but actually I really always liked being involved in summer camps. And so that's when my advisor at Purdue said, you might go to IU. They've got this whole outdoor recreation major, and maybe you would like to do that for a master's. So I came down to IU. It was a beautiful fit for me. I was real involved in Bradford Woods, but I got a teaching license on the side because I thought, what am I going to do with this degree? I guess I'll go teach, right? So I got a teaching license, never used it. We were all primed to go work in camps, in the camp system. And never did anyone say, go be an interpreter in the parks. And then when I found it, I was like, where's this been all my life? I could have done this.
That's probably what I should have done because I also worked at a camp all through college as a counselor. Loved it, was an English major, thought, I guess I'll get an ed degree. I went for a day, was like, nah, never mind. Worked in the music industry and marketing for 5 years.
Wow.
Started tutoring, and I was like, okay, I do like this, and came back and went back to school. English teacher, but I have a science license also. Have always loved history, always loved storytelling. I love being outside. That's probably what I should have done.
You still can.
I still could. That's right. I still could. No, I'm not really planning to quit my job, but I may have a post-teaching career path ready. The position has changed since Lucy Pitchler started leading wildflower hikes at McCormick's Creek. Technology can connect us to park events or help us identify bird calls. Plus, our understanding of which and whose stories to tell has also expanded. Interpretive naturalists have learned that listening is an important component of storytelling.
You know, one of the things that I think Angie should be recognized for, and Vicki did this before her, is making the connections with our federally recognized Native American tribes. Angie is our person who makes those connections, and we have made a commitment as a state park system that if we're going to do educational materials, whether it's programming or signage or anything that speaks to topics that relate to the indigenous people who call Indiana home or have called Indiana home, then we're going to get their perspective on it.
You know, we talk about natural history and geologic history and cultural history, but typically our cultural history has been settlers and, you know, who farmed this land before it became a state park. And I'm just so fortunate to have worked at Mound State Park and then Prophetstown, and having the leadership of Vicki Basman before me and Ginger Murphy before her to create an opportunity to partner with federally recognized tribes. And it's because they've shared with us what it means that we are now the stewards of the land and how we can be respectful of their stories. It has been extremely profound for me personally to learn about the Indiana being their homelands and that all state parks today are on their homelands.
When Prophetstown came into being and we hired our first full-time interpreter, who was Angie, Vicki and I both said we need to really pay attention. We're interpreting the prairie, we're interpreting farming. We really need to make sure that this piece is interpreted because Prophetstown is so significant to so many of the tribes.
The early days of partnering, you know, I remember Vicki and Ginger just starting out a lot of our meetings, you know, with what is it that you want, you know, visitors to the state park to know about you as a tribal citizen, as a tribe. And that's how all of these conversations start. If we're doing nature center exhibits, it's what is it in this nature center exhibit? Do you want people to know about you as a community and a tribe? And they're extremely supportive in editing text and providing photographs and accurate content.
We've done a lot of listening, which is the most important thing, and not making assumptions.
I think it's commendable that Indiana State Parks sees a value in telling a more comprehensive story and is including more voices to interpret our past. It's a valuable relationship that's been developed, and I'm really thankful for their example. I also loved hearing Ginger and Angie honor each other and Vicki for their commitment to incorporating Native American voices into Indiana State Parks. Being an interpreter, telling the stories of our state, can be a weighty job. I'm so thankful that I've been able to hear from so many experts, people who have done the research, asked questions, listened to our partners, maintained their own curiosity about Indiana, and done it all so they can share it with the guests at their parks. Because that's the ultimate goal. An interpretive naturalist is there to help you love this state, to learn how to honor its past and care for it now. At least that's been my experience at every park so far. And it makes it impossible to pick a favorite. People keep being like, well, which one's been your favorite so far? I'm like, well, whichever one I just went to, because that was one I just learned about, and I heard someone who was passionate about it share and get excited, and then I'm like, oh, that is cool. I do love mussels now. I do love fossils. Bison are awesome, or bats, like whatever it is. It's super easy to fall in love with any of the things at the parks. If you've never had a guided hike or attended a program with an interpretive naturalist, please do. It's basically what I've been doing all year to prepare for this podcast. And I can't think of anything better than hiking through this beautiful state with a passionate teacher, helping you learn the story of Indiana. So let's take it back to the beginning, where the interpretive naturalist job began, McCormick's Creek. Here's Jessica Filer, the interpreter there now.
But the reason why you guys get guided tours and get to learn about all these cool nature phenomenon is because our park system really supports programming. It's a long history, and we're actually rated one of the best state parks for these programs. So we hope that people come enjoy them because we put a lot of hard work into them.
Now that you've learned so much about this amazing position, I hope you'll also consider how you can be part of telling the story of Indiana State Parks. And I hope you'll take time to talk with an interpretive naturalist when you spend time in the parks.
Being an interpreter is just a very, very creative and fulfilling profession.
They're the connector. They're the caretaker, and they're the connector of nature with people. And there isn't a more valuable thing that people can do.
As always, a huge thanks goes to Ginger Murphy, Angie Manuel, Vicki Bassman, Jenna Parks Freeman, Kayla Wilson, and Jessica Filer for sharing so much of their time and knowledge with me. You couldn't ask for a better set of role models and history makers than this group of women. In the Parks is not officially associated with Indiana DNR, but as you can tell, I'm so grateful for everything they do for our parks. Please share this podcast with your friends and give it a positive review on your favorite podcast platform. You can follow along on Instagram and Facebook at In the Parks Online. I'll be taking a couple weeks off for the holidays, but we'll be back in January with new episodes that include a State of the State Parks interview with DNR's director, episodes about Pokagon, Charlestown, Falls of the Ohio, and information about fire towers and the lookouts who manage them. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you in the parks.